you wanted to share this with me specifically, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. And it's crazy too because someone wrote here. Excuse me. Someone wrote here the fact that it keeps getting taken down is crazy. So
Yeah, on
yeah.
Twitter. I
So
mean, I'm sorry,
so
on
there
Reddit.
so
On Reddit. Yeah.
so there is this a campaign online where you can't find Nazi salute on TikTok. You can't find Hitler on TikTok. You can't find
Certain
there's
words are
there's
banned. Certain terms are
certain words of
banned.
so there's
Yeah.
a campaign to block certain imagery and an understanding, and you wanted to share this because you felt like some people are misconstruing this as saying that he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's very clear. It's very clear and obvious, right? Like you can look at
yeah,
both men do the salute. Like I've seen talking points, oh, it's the Roman salute, and it's like, well, no, the Roman salute was taken from fascists, just like
yeah.
the swastika was a Buddhist symbol of love and peace. That was taken,
Right, right,
just
right.
like the Hitler mustache was a symbol of Charlie Chaplin. It's all stuff that they take and repurpose for their evil and their
Yeah,
fascism.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is not the Roman salute in the same way that the Roman salute was executed back in the day. This is the Roman salute as remixed by the Nazis. It's very clear he's doing it. We can see him doing
Right,
it right next to Adolf Hitler. The second thing that
right.
I've been seeing is that people keep saying Adolf Hitler doesn't touch his heart when he does the salute. Adolf Hitler just does the salute, which
Mm-hmm.
I myself just did. So I'm glad my camera cut that off. But I digress. Um, you can see clearly here that Adolf is touching his heart
Yeah,
in the same way that Elon touches his heart first before actually making the salute. There you go. What else do you need, man?
yeah,
What else do
yeah,
you need, dog?
yeah. Oh, that's it.
They're communicating with each other, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I'm scared for me. I'm scared for my family. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for your family. I'm scared for the people I love, man. Like I really am.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really
No,
am
this is
because that was in broad daylight at a presidential inauguration, my guy.
so. This week, we're at day two of this new administration, and I wanted to get on and talk to you because I feel like there's some important stuff going around and going down, and we had a chat, and I feel like, and I'm gonna turn off my friends partying in hell voice and say to you that when I messaged you about doing this recording, you have thoughts and you didn't. It's not you didn't want to do it, but you're like, there's only so much I could say about what the fuck's going on, and I felt that, and I
Yeah.
felt like that wasn't the aim. I was like, I didn't think you were gonna feel that way, but
Mm-hmm.
it made me feel like, okay, now I really need to talk to you because I feel like that feeling is important. Being kind of drained a bit, and don't let me put words in your mouth. Correct me at any moment if
No,
I'm
you're right. You're right.
yeah,
It's just
like
like
feeling
I don't know if it
drained.
was.
Yeah,
Oh no, I was just gonna say I don't know if it's so much as like I don't know how much I have to say. It's more like I don't know how much more I can take. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
I'm just over it. That's all.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah,
really it.
and yeah. So the inauguration was yesterday.
Yeah.
They held it inside the Capitol. They didn't do an outdoors thing. So there's a lot of people that went, bought tickets, got hotel rooms really expensive, and they didn't get to experience this thing. Um,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of the talking heads are there a lot of it is like a lot of pre fear that it's just like, okay, we're in the end times now, like now we're here.
Yeah.
um and
For
then
sure.
there's and then the other side of it is like, oh, this is great, this is a new beginning, a new
Yeah.
day, how
Yeah.
exciting is this? So with that kind of being said, I think the crux of this is I want to play for you
Hmm.
the channel 5. I don't know if you know what channel 5 is.
Yes, but you
It's
can
with
explain
Andrew.
it to the
Yeah,
audience here.
yeah, Andrew. It's a show with Andrew Callahan. I think it started on Vice. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I
or
think he
maybe
got
he
picked up
was
from Vice. I believe he was doing his own thing on YouTube, and I think
right. Yeah, he was doing his own
like he
channel.
was always doing his own thing. I believe.
That's right. That's right. Another some small production is kind of gave him the money to do this thing. It blew up, and then they screwed him over, and then he started doing his own thing again, but
Yeah,
actually his own thing where I think he had enough popularity and that he could do his own
yeah,
YouTube channel. So,
yeah.
um, okay, yeah. So I want to play just kind of like the characters at the Capitol and their kind of what they're feeling and thinking the day of.
Age of America has arrived. President Donald J. Trump, number 47 in 43 minutes. Happy days are here again. This is We the Sequel, We the People, round 2, as we take back our capital, as we take back the country after January 6th and all of those people running in jail for no reason.
Most of them. I'm ready to see gas prices under $1.50. I'm ready to see the Federal Reserve.
Oh my God!
I'm ready to see Trump buy 1 million Bitcoins for a strategic reserve for us Americans to have. I'm ready to see the northern, the southern borders secure. I'm ready to see inflation go down to 0. I'm ready for all the Jan 6 prisoners not only to get a pardon, but to get multi-million-dollar payouts in the future. And I'm ready to go to Greenland and have a nice hotel stay at a future Trump tower that gets built there. I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep playing more of it, but I want to make stops. So I want to make pit stops.
Along the way, yeah.
Okay. So you said something that was um very much in the vein of I'm sick of falling for the sensationalism and the outrage and the things that go on, and it's like right in your face, and you just like don't see it.
It's a digital psyop. Everything you see on the internet, it feels this, like it just doesn't, nothing feels genuine right now, if that makes sense. Like nothing feels authentic. It all feels manufactured to create some type of outrage. Like, and not gonna lie, I mean, we're guilty of it right now. The reason why we're on here talking about this is we know it will connect with people. We know it's gonna stir people. You know what I'm saying? We're not just creating the content for fun, or we're not just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but here's the thing that I want to do different.
mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to look at this and to laugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think my laugh right now is sorrow, and I feel sorry for these people who are so excited, because the harsh reality is that none of that's going to happen.
Yeah, you want
they're the
inflation
ones
to go to 0, my friend.
They're the ones that are falling for what you felt earlier when you were talking to me about what you think what you fell for, what you felt like it was like that like initial kind of like, damn dude, I didn't see that coming, I should have, and it's this thing that's happening is like I mentioned before, is the kerosene on this thing that we call the American dream, the American project. It's burning pretty quickly, and I feel like this administration and everything that they're doing is adding gasoline to it, and it's gonna burn quicker because of it. And these people who are so I feel personally like they're so brainwashed in not seeing like what the reality of the world is, that they're going to have the harshest wake up call when everything gets more expensive, things get worse in all ways that are economically, God knows what else, because they're not interested in helping people at all.
No, they're out to get theirs. And I do feel like, okay, so just to backtrack just a little bit, right? When you say that, like, oh, I was saying that, oh, I felt like I fell for this and that, the TikTok thing, the TikTok ban,
it was a
right?
TikTok thing that
it was the TikTok ban,
upset about.
yeah, I'm embarrassed about how I got played there, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
look at it, and it's one of those situations where, and we had conversations privately where you asked me, "Hey, man, do you think this is going to happen?" I was like, "No, there's no way they're going to ban TikTok. There's, like you said, there's too much money. Yeah, too many businesses, too many people rely on TikTok for a livelihood. There's no way TikTok gets banned, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then once the vote got shut down, the 270-day stay, that's when I was like, oh shit, maybe TikTok is getting shut down. And I started to buy into the propaganda. And I started to go down that rabbit hole of like, man, I can't believe that they'll shut down TikTok. I can't believe what that's going to mean for people who rely on the work, that they do on TikTok, whatever it is, whether you agree with her or not, it's still their livelihood. Having to go down and look at discourse of people talking about good, TikTok deserves to be banned. If you work at TikTok or you get income from TikTok, then you need to go get a real job, that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just falling into that, like, it's just sad. It's just sad that people can look at somebody losing their livelihood and be like, "Oh, good for you. I never agreed with the way you chose to make money." It's the same way that we look at sex workers and OnlyFans. It's the same way in a lot of respects that we look at people who we consider having menial jobs, right? People who
Yeah,
work at
right.
McDonald's, people who,
Mm-hmm.
the service workers who had to work through COVID and were
Mm-hmm.
essential then, but not essential enough to get a minimum wage increase after
Right.
after COVID was done,
Well,
right?
shit. I mean, just a living wage.
It was just a living wage. That's what I'm saying. Like, you
Yeah.
had people, you had people screeching about not being able to go out and get haircuts, but now you don't want to, not be able to go out and have a burger and a beer with their friends. These are people
Mm-hmm.
who are upset about that, to the point where they stormed the Capitol on January 6th 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
that upset. And then you try to ask those same people, well, if it's so important for you to go get a burger and a beer, if it's so important for you to get a haircut, should we raise those people's, wages? And it's
Mm-hmm.
a resounding no. Me falling into the TikTok discourse the way I did and falling for the whole bait and switch, right? The whole, like, we saw, the writing was on the wall. Trump said TikTok needs to be banned, and then Trump turned around and became the savior of TikTok with the help of the president of TikTok, right? Who came out and said, "Hey, thank you, Mr. Trump, for working so hard to make sure that TikTok is reinstated for the American people." That to me was an eye opener. It
Mm-hmm.
was an eye opener in the same way that I saw myself get kind of like led down that rabbit hole from the onset down into the comments and the way people were talking, all that stuff that was served to me to get me riled up. I see how easy it was for me to fall into that. And at the same time, then turn around and disparage or call other experiences, call the people that have those experiences idiots because they don't agree, or because I think you're an idiot for being taken in by that propaganda, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
turn around and I'm a victim of the same propaganda machine, just at a different level, just on a
Yeah.
different, for different subjects, right? My thing might be, I can't, the TikTok ban was crazy, and how, they did it, and how it became a political tool to divide. It worked on me. It worked on me because it when it first started, it didn't feel like a political tool. It felt like all of Congress. It felt like the USA was taking a stand. And so I was willing to engage in that conversation. And then when the wool was pulled and it became a partisan thing, then it became, oh man, like, I feel embarrassed that I got pulled into that. And I can see how somebody growing up in a rural place who feels like an outcast can eventually end up saying what that guy said, which was, I can't wait for, inflation to go to zero. I can see how he falls down that rabbit hole. I can see how
Mm-hmm.
he becomes part of the propaganda machine because of how it was slowly and introduced, and he was just dragged through it. And then he comes out on the other side, not thinking he was going to be a Nazi sympathizer, not
Mm-hmm.
thinking he was going to be associated with fascism.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants inflation to go down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
I can
Right.
see how those that's so, just to a little context to why.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think that's. I mean, I think that's like the. I think that's like the whole crux of like all of this is that it's so easy to to fall for the scam of all of this, because we can see like I was watching the Jon Stewart talk about the inauguration, and he no, it wasn't Jon Stewart. It was I think it was Seth Meyers. But the whole point was like there's a metaphor here of like, or what is the metaphor here of all the people who are supportive of this administration, thinking that it's gonna change their lives, it's gonna change the world for the better, and then it gets closed down, it gets shut down, right? So so you can't come. It's a private party. You can't come. You're not invited.
Yeah.
And guess
Yeah.
who's there? You know what I mean?
The
And this
actual
picture,
cabinet. Yeah.
yeah,
The
and
oligarchs.
this right here represents like the way that the way that this country works is where the money's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The new
So Zuckerberg's here, Jeff Bezos. So we got Facebook or Meta, we got Amazon, we have Google here, we have Tesla, and Tim Cook was there from Apple too. So he was there as well. Not in this picture, but he was there. So that's who gets to come to the party.
Yeah. And not only get to come to the party, they get to sit in front. They get to sit directly behind Trump and in front of the actual cabinet, the people who were elected and chosen to serve this country.
Right.
They're sitting in front of them, which shows you it's not just about power and influence. The money talks.
Right. And I think that once you kind of understand that and see that, like, just some like a little like kind of backstory. I think that, and I hate to say it this way, but I think that I'm not so easily swayed by the rabbit holes and like the things. I even told you that I was like, yeah, TikTok isn't gonna get banned. I didn't know like the schedule or like the actual plan, but I was like, no, dude, I don't think that it is gonna. And I wasn't surprised that it came back. I wasn't surprised when Trump got elected again either. I didn't have these visceral reactions to how things work because I think I have a really good understanding of how the world actually works. And I feel like a lot of that is the way that I was raised and kind of understanding what my background is. And I've said this before, where my whole existence and being is part of it is the American failed American foreign policy. There was the Cold War. I'm a product of the Cold War. My parents had to immigrate from their country to this country because of Russia and the United States funding, either side of whatever their ideology was in Latin America. It happened in Cuba, it happened in Nicaragua, it happened in El Salvador. Like my parents are from El Salvador. It happened in all these Latin American countries, and I'm a product of that. And growing up and later understanding these things and educating myself on like the reality of the corporate system in Latin America and how the resources that are used are directly funneled into what the government does to support these businesses in Latin America, because the laws are very skewed. I mean, and that's why the whole Cuban thing here in Miami, for example, is so frustrating, because they don't see themselves as part of the problem. Or the victims. They don't see themselves as the victims of that. They see themselves as like these temporary Americans that are, that and it's not the truth is that like a lot of what happened in Cuba was because of that. It was like they were
directly related.
There's a lot of corporate entities in Cuba that were taking advantage of everything on that island. I mean, it was a chill hotspot for foreigners to come. Things were cheap, the women were plentiful, and like you came to fuck around there. You came to fuck around. But what happened to the people
before the embargoes?
The people living there were suffering from all that because they were getting taken advantage. So, and that happened everywhere in Latin America. So I have a different outlook on how the American structure like works for people like me. And then I have my core friend group are all like black kids growing up in America, and then understanding that we're in the same boat here, man. We're in the
Yeah, no,
same boat, and
yeah,
it's just like understanding American history from that perspective, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like this system isn't built for the likes of us at all, at
no,
all. It's a
of
fucking
course.
miracle that we are where we're at. You know what I mean?
I
For the
agree.
most part, really, because we're one step from like some bad thing happening where we get misidentified for something or whatever the fuck it may be, and it's a
Yeah,
very real thing that a lot of people don't understand.
yeah,
And anyway, my whole rant is that all this stuff that's going on and my understanding of like history and everything, this is the end, that we are in the end of this project, of this American system. There is no something radical has to happen from here until this thing just kind of topples over. And
look, yeah.
that's
Every empire historically has fallen.
right.
Every single one, right?
Yeah.
And the American empire will be no different. You know, um, I agree with you to an extent, and I think that's why I felt so embarrassed for myself when I fell
Mm-hmm.
for a
Sure.
TikTok ban. You see what I'm saying? It's a
Yeah.
TikTok thing that I fell for. I'm embarrassed of that because, like you said, I don't find myself falling into these different zeitgeists, these different bubbles
Mm.
easily. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't a thing of, is Trump not going to get elected? Nah, like we had conversations on this podcast where I was like, that's going to be our next president. Like, you guys got to see that, right? Like, no matter who we throw at him, he will be president. You know what I'm saying? Like, saw it coming. So, yeah, there are instances where
Yeah.
I feel like I've done a very good job throughout my life at scoping out the propaganda, looking at this thing and saying, yeah, no, I don't buy
Right.
that. Let me go do some further research. Let me go look
Right.
into this. Let
Mm-hmm.
me figure out where it is that I need to find the information, because something
Mm-hmm.
right away in my spirit, in my
Right.
rich black spirit, it just is my black spider senses are tingling. You know what I'm
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
saying? It's
That's I would say that that's what it is. My Latin tingles are going
it
for sure.
tingles, yeah, you
Yeah.
feel it and you're like, I don't know, let me see about that, right? And then you
Yeah.
don't,
Mm-hmm.
so for
Yeah.
TikTok to be the red button issue that pulled me in is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Yeah.
That right there is just like, man, for me, that was so easy, bro. They got me so easy. And just the
Yeah.
narrative, I followed the ups, I followed the downs, I was there. I was the like
You got
I
had.
was
You got had.
I got had the wool was pulled over my eyes
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
easily. I went from looking at it from an objective perspective and trying to see what was happening to
Yeah.
just listening to what was being told to me.
Right.
That makes
Right.
sense? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and so for that to happen to myself, someone
Mm-hmm.
who I consider to be able to point out propaganda, someone to be able to effectively move through the digital space and not get suckered,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, who looks at other people who do fall into those holes and say, "Wow, you are so stupid. How could you
Yeah.
fall for that?"
Yeah.
That one stung. It stung.
Right.
And
Right.
so I guess my whole thing is what I was telling you was that, outside of the podcast, was that, like, I don't know how much of this conversation I wanted to have in front of an audience, because I don't
Yeah.
know how much of what I don't trust my own eyes and ears at this moment, right now.
Yeah, no,
At
I mean,
this moment,
I
I
think
don't.
that's really, it's important to say that though, because I think that this is like when this video that I pulled for you is like it was like I feel sad because like these are
That's
people
what they're going
who
through. They're going through that
yeah,
all the time, all the
yeah,
time. And then
yeah,
they think they find the answer. They think they found the people that will give it to them straight, and those people are lying through their teeth.
oh
Now,
yeah,
whereas
yeah,
I can look at the TikTok thing and go, well, you got me. It's hard. It's the sunk cost fallacy. When you spent 10 years, 15 years being led through this, it's hard to see the other side and go, oh man, you got me. That's on me, bro. You know, you have whole ideologies built around this now. You have kids that may now be thinking the same things that you've ingrained in them. You know, you've ingrained yourself in social circles that are thinking the same way, that reinforce these thoughts. So I don't know. It's just it's hard to want to get on here and have a conversation about people going through the same thing that I just very recently went through and disparage them for being taken advantage of. Well, it's hard. It's my thing.
I think that's the difference that this time is that I would always feel like, I guess, like you always, I mean, for me, I can speak for myself. I always felt like, okay, like I think I know more. I think I'm better. I'm like well-rounded. And then I see this kind of thing, and then it's like, it's easy to laugh and poke fun. But like I said, no, I just feel sorry because this feels like I said, like the end, because they're going to hit a harsh wall. And I don't know when that is.
No.
And I don't know in what capacity or whatever, but they're going to hit this harsh wall where like, oh man, like things are not getting better.
Well,
because the system isn't made, like the system.
It's not designed to get better for us.
It's not because that's not how it works.
And when we say us, make no mistake, we're not just talking about black and brown folk. We're talking about people, poor whites too. Like, we're talking about anybody who's not.
I'm talking about regular
Joe.
Because
anybody who's not a millionaire, billionaire.
No, I mean even a billionaire, because like they don't, like, they're millionaires are just as close to being poor than other people.
Well, yeah, because we have so many billionaires, millionaires are becoming the middle class that the American government has systematically stripped and removed. Millionaires will become that middle class, right?
I'm telling you, like,
so
like it's like, think about what just happened in LA, like the people who lost their homes and stuff like that. That's a huge hit on your.
Yes, it is
a huge hit for you.
Huge,
you know what
huge. I mean? Like some of those house prices are exorbitant.
That's
like
money,
whatever
that's
you're,
collateral. That's collateral. Whatever the fuck it is, that shit is gone. You got, like,
and the way insurance, like the way insurance was just like, oh yeah, we're no longer covering fire, protections because it's fire season, like that kind of stuff.
All at the precipice of like,
we're all getting screwed.
Seriously, like, because you can't. When the system isn't made for you to be successful, like without screwing other people over, what does that look like as a society? So, like, I'll tell you one thing. The one time that I kind of woke up to the internet propaganda stuff, it's really funny. This was years and years ago. Do you remember the black square on Instagram? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the black square was for injustice against like police brutality, something like that. It was like whatever.
Yeah.
So I was dating someone at the time, and that was like a thing. And she put up a black square, and I was like, and I was pretty on top of like those kinds, that kind of like armchair socialism kind of stuff. I was super down with that. I was like, all right, cool. But that's one thing. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not, because this feels like
performative.
And I was like, I'm not gonna do it. And sure enough, it happens, and then it gets like laughed at, because it's like, what is this? Like, you're not doing it. Like, you couldn't be more blasé about like actual fucking things that are going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be that person. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna post like shit like that, because there's no weight behind it. So what I'd rather do, and I haven't done that since, but what I'd rather do is talk to you about this kind of stuff at this kind of platform, because I feel like that's worth my time, where I can put out my thoughts and my content, my art, because I feel like, and it's funny because I was doing Margie was saying, she was making fun of me. She's like, you're sad that TikTok is going away, and I got upset. I was like, it's like, fuck you, boomer. Like, I was like, I do that shit because I I actually work in the space. I'm not an influencer. I'm not like, I actually make shit,
Yeah,
and I want to make films, and I write, like, I want, like, this is different for me.
yeah,
This is just a
yeah.
marketing tool for me. And yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
was like, and I'm like, yeah, that does suck that TikTok is going away, actually,
yeah,
because you know what I
yeah.
mean. I gotta
And my
brand
whole
myself on.
livelihood is livelihood also tied up in it. Aside from making content just between you and I, like
Yeah,
I write content
right,
and I get
exactly,
paid to do it. You know
right.
what I mean?
So I
So
feel
yeah,
like that kind of shit is, yeah, performative bullshit. Like, I'm not doing that, but I will have a conversation and make content that is like at least in that vein of like me trying to like have the conversation somewhere and let it be, have it be something that someone else can reflect on, or maybe take something from it or whatever. I've gotten lucky from time to time in my career where I've worked at a place where I can do those kinds of things
hmm,
and my craft, right? So I was working at
yeah,
this place called Brute, and I had to produce content, but it was like all, a lot of it was like just social issues that I give a shit about. Like, I talked about
yeah,
immigration reform, I talked about, a bunch of stuff like that, and that was really cool because that's what I care about. I do care
yeah.
about the politics. I do care about the social. I do care about those things. And while we can fuck around on here, and that's great, I love it. Like, but I also feel like we have depth, and like we can talk about these things because that shit is important to us as human beings and as like creative people.
I
That
agree.
this is like, at like the most obscure kind of um esoteric kind of like idea, art and like what's going on in society are so deeply entwined in
Oh yeah,
some way or another that this
it's been that way for
informs,
so long. Yeah,
yeah, this informs how I want to create stuff and like
yeah,
how things look and what I want to talk about and all this kind of stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, anyway, I just wanted to
I
have
mean,
this
when you think
conversation
about
with you.
like, yeah, no, of course, of course, like, and just what you're saying right now, like, when you think about, all the way back to the Renaissance and all the way back to like having patronage and the artist being commissioned, basically bought into a house to create technically propaganda. That's what it was. It was propaganda,
hundred
so
percent.
that these rich people can say
Right.
that they're giving back, right?
Right.
But the
Right.
message in the art that they were making, I mean, like, this is all,
Yes.
it's cyclical. It's still happening. So I think
Yep.
one of the reasons why it became so, for me, one of the reasons why TikTok getting banned became something that I was super invested in. It goes back to that, and it goes back to looking at
Mm.
how art and the politics are always and have always been kind of intertwined, right? And so to see that
Mm-hmm.
the people who used to be the patrons of the arts turn around and then take a platform away felt very, very much like the end of the Renaissance.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm
I
saying?
could.
And that to
Yeah.
me was
Yeah.
really one of those situations where I was like, I can't believe that this is like, we're really walking down that path. And so I bought into it. I fell for it.
Yeah.
And the
No.
truth was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. 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 Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say, and the truth was that they were never gonna get rid of it. They were just gonna make sure that the artist knew who held the purse strings. They were gonna make
Yeah.
sure you knew
Yeah.
your place. That's all. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a scary place to be when you know that like the powers that be aren't in your. They're not in your corner. They never were. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And they control more than what you think. So I
Yeah,
want to keep playing this video just to get more.
Greenland is like -30 right now, though.
Well, Greenland is really cold and icy, and Iceland is really green and nice, right?
Yeah, it was like they named it that to trick the Vikings. So Iceland's the green one. So they were like the Vikings, they're scared of them, so they were just like, "Yo, we're gonna call Greenland Iceland and reverse it." So that the Vikings got to Greenland and were like, "Fuck."
Wow, that's amazing.
I'm really honestly going to be proud to see
our president able to walk and not crap himself in front of the world stage. It's nice to have a president that can speak English without mumbling. It's nice to have a president that the people on the world stage actually respect and maybe fear a little bit. Remember when he did the thing with Rocket Man? People said he was going to start World War III. He's like, Rocket Man, I've got the biggest rocket. I got a bigger button. I've got a bigger rocket.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
And everyone said that was going to start World War III. But did it? No, it actually backed off Rocket Man. And in the end, they ended up shaking hands, which had never been done before, never been done in the history of the world. And it's that strength that you need when you come into a negotiation. You don't need some guy bumbling and barely able to walk, rolling up in front of the world leaders. They're laughing behind our backs. They're making us look foolish. At least Trump has swagger. He's got Americana, and he's
The gayest thing that happened at the inauguration is the village people for performing. And it's like this conservative fascist group of people that like are so anti-gay, but the gayest song.
They got the village people, bro.
They got there was a dude with a leather biker. You know, we got the whole lineup there. The leather bike, the dude with the chaps on. We got the Indian. No, like
headdress,
yes, like so. I think more than anything is that what this shit represents here too is like what you were talking about, like falling down like this path, because really the Democratic Party are such fuck ups.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
good Lord, man. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Like I could talk about that for hours too, because it's like when you have the option and that they were presented, people were like, fuck no, man. I mean, shit, I'm a progressive, and I was like no to that too.
Yeah.
So
still went out, did my duty and voted, but yeah,
Right.
I wasn't happy about casting that vote. I just was.
Right.
And the truth is, this has been the lowest turnout on either side. Not very many of us were pleased with the options, right? Either one. This has been the lowest voter turnout since, I think they said, since Obama set the precedent for like how you can bring people to action. Like they were expecting those kind of numbers. Nah, like the few of us who did vote, everybody else was like, nah, I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna watch some TV. I'm gonna play some video games. I'm gonna read. I don't care about this because neither one of these candidates will help me. You know, like specifically,
no. Look,
the bad choices. I hate the two-party system. I hate it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, the two-party system is so ingrained in making money that
it's all corporate.
Like, look, like the culture war stuff. If you fall for the culture war stuff, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Because
well,
that's the whole point, right? Like, it's like how easy it is to fall into, like, the second you're talking about culture war stuff, is like, no, dude, you're like missing the forest for the trees here, man. Like, you really think that the trans issue is like a thing, like in the world to people? Like, that's not like, but you know what I mean? But that's the whole thing. It's like, dude, there's the numbers aren't even there for that. You know what I mean?
Nope.
It's like, nah, dude, like, it's like, this shit is not a thing that you think it is. But the internet and all that stuff, like, makes it provides a different reality for people.
And
if you don't figure this out now, and us talking to you now, just the critical thinking skills it takes. And it's hard because it's not to say that there's not times that we, but I am so slow to react to stuff because I know that that's not the whole truth that you're seeing.
Yeah.
And and for TikTok, for example, I feel like not TikTok, like Facebook, for example, like when they were talking about the whole Russia thing and all that stuff, like the whole, what people super miss, like, and I hate that you think that there'd be better marketers out there in like politics because there's so much fucking money involved that you think that they would get better people to market like the branding and messaging. You know what I mean?
Would,
fuck, man. But like the Russia thing with Trump, how they were saying that he colluded with the Russians and stuff like that. The biggest fucking fuck up there was that they try to make it seem like this motherfucker had an actual conversation with anyone in Russia to say this is the plan and this is what we're gonna do. Because that's not how it works. How it really works is that Russia wants to destabilize like a foreign power, and how can we do that? The easiest way possible is that Facebook doesn't check who gives them money.
Yeah.
And if you've worked in social media, content creation, and stuff like how we have, how easy is it today, right now, after this podcast, for us to create a content that's super, super specific to create divisive conversations, put money behind it, and see how viral it can
and
go.
watch it soar. And
Now,
the crazy thing is about, just to add to that analogy, or not just that example, for anybody who's like, you can put money behind content, right? And then you hope it catches on and all that good stuff. The more divisive the content, the less money you have to put behind it, because the more likelihood that it will get picked up organically. So you take a piece of content that's super divisive, you put $5 behind it, that guarantees you 1,000 views.
$5.
$5. That's it. Not a lot of money.
People
it's
don't
not
get
a lot.
that. People
it's
don't
not a lot.
It. So
it's not a lot at all.
Now imagine that you have
Bingo.
a fucking country behind you.
Bingo.
Working the propaganda machine, and there's no limit to the money that you can
Bingo.
post.
Exactly.
So now that you have $5, I'll put $10,000 behind it, because that's nothing. That is nothing.
Exactly.
Our budget is better spent on doing this than building tanks, because that's an easier way to kind of destabilize your country by misinformation.
Yep.
So mind you, $5 can do that. What can $1 million do behind a campaign?
Exactly.
And you have a group of people too, a group of 10 people max. You don't need a lot of people.
No. Look. We know enough about this that we could get off of this right now, and maybe we should do it as an experiment. But we can get off of this right now. We could create something that goes viral that is absolutely terrible, and then we can create something that is positive and uplifting, and sows the seeds of unity and working together, and put the same dollar amount behind it, and it will not do anywhere near the numbers for the same price point, right? It is easy. It is very easy. Anybody out there that wants to be an influencer, that wants to be whatever, you want to make it, what they won't tell you is they pay. They pay for the opportunity to be served to the audiences. And then, if you're lucky, the audience will begin to show up organically, because they know your face. It's marketing 101. You have to get in front of the people at least 7 times before they remember your name, before they remember your face.
The biggest misconception about social media, is that people pay to be on it.
The biggest misconception is that people think it's all organic, and that the person who overnight became a celebrity is a celebrity because they are just more talented than you are, they're prettier than you are, they're more handsome than you are, they're more fit than you are. No, they use those things, but at the end of the day, it's the almighty dollar that puts them in front, and that's why your video only gets 100 to 200 views. And why everything they put out immediately gets thousands is because they're putting money behind it. Put $5 behind your video that's only gotten 200 views a week ago, a month ago. And that video will then all of a sudden start getting service to people, or getting shared to people who would find your content interesting. You will start getting those likes. You would start, and it's been sitting there for 2 months and collecting dust. Put $5 behind it. Now it's relevant. Now it's worth sharing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just, and so, back to your example of the propaganda machine and how destabilizing an entire country in a digital warscape can be not only easy but lucrative, because you put $5 behind it, you put $1 million behind it. What's your return on that investment? A lot. It's a lot, not just financial, but you get a lot of stuff back for spreading that propaganda. That goes back to what I was saying in the last episode where we were talking about when you said what's the correlation between Meta and Instagram and TikTok. I still firmly believe that. That's not what I'm saying. I got off everything I said I was going to do. I got off of Meta. All of my Meta things gone. Not deactivated, deleted accounts. I'm about to delete my TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I genuinely, not even just believe, I know that's how it works.
Yeah.
I work in the space. I know that's how it
Yeah.
works.
This isn't a guessing thing. Like, this is how
No,
it works.
it's not. It's a
And
fed up
so,
thing for me. For me,
yeah.
I'm
And
just
so
fed up with it.
I think that, like, you just need to. I was talking to someone yesterday about like how you need to use your how I view social media and like what it feels like. It's a tool
It is
for me. The way that I perceive it, it's a tool,
Mhm.
and it's and I want to make film and I want to do all this stuff. So I got to create a space where I can do that so people know who I am. So when
Yeah.
I do these things, I have whatever. So that's how I'm using it as a tool.
Mhm.
But as a tool, it can be used in other ways that are not beneficial for people who don't want to do these things. And we have prime examples of like what's going on. The last thing I want to share with you is this that happened yesterday too. And I'm just gonna just play it for you. Doesn't need much context. So Elon Musk is at
Yes!
at the inauguration.
This is what victory feels like. Yeah!
Victory for who, man?
And this was no ordinary
Yeah.
victory. This was a fork in the road of human civilization. Okay. This there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, important, some are not. But this one this
Some
one
elections. Pause that right there. You
Yeah.
see, some elections are important, some are not. This is a foreign agent telling the
Yeah.
American population that some elections are important and some are not, and he got laughs. He got cheers at that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to look at this and be like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's if you gotta, man, you gotta be woke. You gotta
not
be
anymore. You
woke,
can't
man.
be. That's the whole point. They ran a
It-
whole their whole campaign hinges on the fact that, I mean,
Right.
the woke mind virus, dog. Like, this is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
all propaganda. It's all twisting and it's all turning and it's taking the things that you believe and the things that you are
yeah,
interested in, the ideals and the merit that you want to live your life on. It's taking those and it's branding them. It's branding them
yeah,
as
yeah,
the enemy.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
well, in reality, all being woke, just don't fall for the propaganda. Look at what's
That's
happening. That's
what
all it
look
meant.
what woke was a term used in the black community to just
Mhm.
be aware
Be
of
aware.
what's happening around you, the
Yep.
institutions that bind
Yep.
us, all that kind
Yep.
of. That's what that meant. That's what
That's
that
all it
meant.
means. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
they
just want to
turned it.
say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. I mean, can you imagine how
So yeah. So Nazi salute Elon here.
Yeah.
Even if that even if that wasn't the intention, the dog whistle is still loud.
It was
And
the intention. I don't care what,
yeah,
dude. There's no way to misconstrue that. Like, you hear people saying, "Oh, it's the whole my
Well,
heart
that's
goes out
who
to you salute."
I
Yeah,
put it.
yeah. Well, it's the Roman salute. The Roman. You mean the Roman salute that was like the Buddhist symbol of love and peace that was, taken by fascists and used, right? Like,
Right.
there are side by sides, bro. Like, hey, let me see if maybe I can send you one just for anybody who
Yeah.
thinks that I'm like BSing and they want to say, hey man, like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
I welcome that opinion, but I would like to.
What do you mean the Roman? You want me to pull the Roman salute?
No, there's no video evidence of the Roman salute. I looked for it. I did
Oh,
yesterday. Just for my own.
you mean a
The
Nazi
Nazi, yeah.
salute?
I want to.
Oh,
There's a
I'll
side
find
by
that for you.
side. Yeah, there's a side by side of Hitler doing it and of Elon doing it, and it's one of those situations where you cannot. I don't care what. Like, even if, look, I saw that and I immediately, like I told you off the podcast, I saw that and I put my phone down and said, "Fuck, it's Martin Luther King Day, dog. Like, I'm not I'm not participating in this.
Right.
Like I put my phone down, I stopped participating in all the election talk and all the inauguration talk and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read about the leaders in my community that made.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
can I share with you? Something interesting just happened.
What's that?
Okay, so I want to look for Nazi salute
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok, and
Yeah.
I get this.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The changes that they made in the time when they took this is what I was surprised. This is what I'm saying. I wasn't we had the conversation, right? We had the conversation about TikTok going down. And I told you that I didn't think it was going to go down and all this stuff. Yeah. When it did go down though, and then it came back. This right here. This is what I was upset at myself for not seeing coming. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The censorship. Yeah. I was upset at myself for falling victim to the same things that I call people stupid for and not seeing that the minute this shit came back, I was like, you fucking got me, bro. You got me. It was this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's crazy. It wouldn't let me find it. Look, it won't let me find it. When I put Nazi, it won't let me find it.
Yeah, but when you put Elon Musk, and you see, that's smart. That's starting small. Imagine how much further this is going to go. Because here's the thing. Go do a Google search for Nazi salute. There may be some now. But yesterday when I did a Google search, there were the institutions that we consider the media who should be giving us unfiltered information without taking a side. Nobody was willing to call it a Nazi salute.
Wow, I can't even look up Hitler.
You can't look up Hitler. Try looking up Obama. Let's see what that does.
Obama.
Okay, so we get Obama back. Okay, because I saw that yesterday. Like Obama wasn't working.
Really?
Yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, look. What I can do is I can go to YouTube. YouTube still has like.
Yeah.
That's wow. It's the first time I've seen that. I saw that. Wow.
Now you see why I said I'm just like, that's why I've been so dejected all day. That's why I've been so like kind of internally just being like, I'm over it, bro. Like it's too much. I feel overwhelmed. Like if I can't trust, when I said earlier, I feel like I can't trust my own eyes and my own ears. You see what I'm saying? Like what did George Orwell say? The final, what was that quote from 1984? The final,
yeah, I think it's like when you can't trust your own eyes or something.
No, it was like it's something like the final message of the party was to not trust your eyes, or not trust what you see, to not trust what you hear, and it was the most important command from the party. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. That's how I honestly feel right now. I honestly feel like what I'm looking at, like when I saw the Nazi salute from Elon Musk, my first thought was, this cannot be real. I literally don't trust what I'm seeing right now. This cannot be real.
Right.
It has to be a photo taken out of context. And then you go and you see the video and you're like, no, it's real. That's insane to me that could happen on American soil at a presidential inauguration.
Yeah.
And he not be thrown in jail immediately.
Yeah.
Like, hang on. I'm looking for something specific that I'm going to send it to you.
I think it was, I think I saw that. It was like a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, it was.
I saw it too.
Side-by-side. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna look for that. Give me a second. Right? It's being the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, is saying it's a Roman salute. That's the Anti-Defamation League is saying that it's a Roman salute, and you're it's staring right back at you in the face right now. You're seeing that is how. Please tell me, Anti-Defamation League, how this is a Roman salute. You, like, the amount of legacy media that we've entrusted with giving us unbiased information that has bent the knee, that has gone out of their way to sanitize this little comparison, this imagery. It's crazy to me. It's tough to see this and think that the next, not even just 4 years, but the next like decade, the future of America, it's hard to look at this and think that the future of America is heading in a right direction, right? Yeah. Because they're trying to tell us that what we're seeing directly in front of us is not what it is, and it does not have the implications that we know it has.
Look, there's a real simple. This for me. This is a real simple. Like figuring out what this meant. Let's
Yeah.
go find actual KKK Nazi skinheads. Ask them what they thought.
Yeah, seriously. No, seriously. What did you
No,
think
for
of this?
real.
Did you
For
did you
real.
think it was just a Roman salute? And that's going to be the PCA. That's the answer. You know why it's going to be the answer is because they've been told to say, nah, it's just a Roman salute. That way we can get
Yeah.
away with it in broad daylight, right?
Right.
You know.
Right.
But anybody looking at Elon, here's the thing: most people that consume our podcast and our media did not have to see this comparison. They did not need that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They looked at it and said, "Hey, man, that looks very similar to the Nazis, Heil Hitler salute."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the people that we've been talking about and we've been talking to, and I kind of like just been kind like it's the people that I keep saying I want to not just be like, "Hey, you're being." You're being malicious of your own accord. I'm wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt and say, hey man, I know how you may have ended up here. I know it may be propaganda that brought you here, but can you look at this and and honestly tell me you think that's the Roman salute? Like, right? Like if you are an American and you believe that American patriotism is the exact opposite of what Nazi fascism stood for, can you honestly, as a patriot, even as a Trump supporter, as a patriot of this country, can you look at that and tell me that's not a Nazi salute? You know what I'm saying? Like, did you need a comparison for that? Did you need to see a comparison? Or are you able to maybe take a step back and say, I don't know, man. Maybe there are some ideals within the party that I'm not 100% okay with.
Yeah. There's one last one I want to present before we go.
Sure.
Just to kind of bring it home. We already provided a couple examples. This is the last one. Yeah.
There you go. What else do you need, man?
Yeah.
What else do you need, dog?
Yeah. That's it.
They're communicating with each other. And So I'm scared for me. I'm scared for my family. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for your family. I'm scared for the people I love, man. Like I really am. I really am. Because that was in broad daylight at a presidential inauguration, my guy.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to get better?
No.
It's not.
And that's I've been on the mountaintop screaming this. I remember when I was in college, when I was writing a film about a civil war in this country. And I remember, because things you have to get your script read out loud, and you have to go through the process of like getting it dissected and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it felt outrageous to people.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, mind you, this was in 2007, 8.
Okay.
I wrote this. And then last year an A24 film came out called Civil War, and I was like, fuck, man. I was on the cusp, bro.
You were just ahead of your time. You were just too early. That's all. Things were still good comparatively. You know what I'm saying? Like things were still too rosy. People were still too proud to be American at the time.
But I was like, no, dude, because like I said, I'm an avid history buff. I really do analyze all that stuff and understand it. And I was like, no, this is the path we're going down. There is no like the getting's too good.
Yeah, it's like Elon said it. We've hit a fork in the road for human, for civilization. He said it. He knows. We've hit that fork in the road. We're down the path, bro. Heil, Elon.
Yeah,
like
Elon.
So hey, it is what it's gonna be, man. I am. Like I said, I spent yesterday aggregating links and looking for books that I can buy and put in my library that will most likely not exist in the next 20 to 25 years.
Let me give you some suggestions of stuff that I have that have been really eye-opening and stuff.
Absolutely. That's kind of my favorite. Kind of how
they have a Latin tinge to it, but that's because that's the perspective.
I'm okay with that. Remember we traded. You remember how we traded, but I think that's how we became like friends. We always had a mutual friend in Jarvis. But I think one of the things, and one of the sanitized version is we'll say, we bonded over like Simpsons and stuff. But for me, I think the day that I really was like, I like this dude. I can be friends with this dude is I was reading Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and you're like, oh, what is that? I was like, oh, it's the autobiography of Malcolm X. I was like, you should read it, check it out. And then the next day you brought Motorcycle Diaries.
Oh, okay, yeah, wow.
And we
I
traded
about that.
Yeah, and we traded books because I was reading I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X for like the second or third time, and I told you that, and you're like, "Oh yeah, here's a book I really like."
That's a crazy.
And we traded. I gave you that,
yeah.
and you gave me Motorcycle Diaries, and then we read them, and then we had a whole conversation, like a week-long conversation about it. It was a preemptive to this podcast, and as we were like in like 9th grade.
yeah. Well, look, I have a Malcolm X.
There you go. See,
yeah,
beautiful. Love it. Love it.
Well, look, man. Love you very much. Thank you for talking to me, as always. And I'll talk to you on the next one, dude.
All right. Peace, man.